There is a bunch of
April, just wanted to confirm that you can hear us.
I think was the guy's name.
She's muted.
April, can you hear us? Just want to confirm that you can hear us and talk back. You'll have to unmute yourself.
Oh, it's got a big bag of Skittles. He'll give you a couple of calls sometimes.
I know. Mark, you can hear us, right?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
Wonderful. Bob, I guess we'll get going.
You want to have an introduction or not?
Sure.
I think it's a lot.
Hey, as soon as it's 4:45, we'll call the May Park and Rec meeting together, and we'll have a brief introduction, starting with the gentleman on the other side over there. That would be you, Bernie.
I'm Bernie Ritchie. I'm new on the board.
Dennis Herter, 5th District Alderperson.
Old
Tim
guy.
Roberts, 4th District Alderperson.
Dave Dorsey, 4th District Alderperson.
Mike Barrington, 3rd District.
Steve Grote, 3rd District Alderman.
Billy Olson, District 2 Alderman.
Fred Zog, District 2.
John Fashade, District 1 Alderperson. Rob Besaw, 1st District Alderperson.
I'm Chad Hurt, the city administrator. And then Mayor Mark, do you want to introduce yourself?
Mark Herter, Mayor Mark for City of New London.
Ginger Arndt, our recreation superintendent's also on. I know she's listening in. And then April, can you hear us? Can you talk now?
Yep, I can hear you now.
Beautiful. Go ahead and introduce yourself as a new member.
My name is April Amador. Yes, I'm a new member.
Is Kelly here? I've never met Kelly yet. Kelly Baker? Okay, Kelly is another member.
Chad, Kelly will not be there tonight. I didn't get that out to you, but I talked to her earlier today.
Perfect. All right. Bob, we're good to go.
Any changes to the agenda?
Other than, let's see, Tony was going to come maybe tonight about the sculptures in the park. If she doesn't come, then we're going to push off number 4 to the next month. Otherwise, everything else should be good to go for tonight.
I look for approval of the agenda.
So move.
Second. All in favor?
Hey,
Opposed? Agenda is adopted. Public input on anything on the agenda. Mr. Yeager, you want to come up?
Come on down and
All back.
Hi, I know most of you guys. My name is Jim Yeager. I've been in this room quite a few times in the past number of years. I'm the chairman of the Veterans Memorial over here. And we have some of our members here. And
I'm representing the CNR Waterfront Bar.
Right.
Please know me.
I understand there's a little bit of issue with the fencing that was replaced out there. And we're here to see if we can get it resolved and what this group can help us with. Aside from that, we're going to have a funeral at, and I talked to Ginger about it, a funeral at Taft Park on Monday. We don't have them there very often. And I asked Ginger to make sure the grass was getting pretty high. And one other thing while we're talking about grass, I think the grass condition at Taft Park by the Veterans Memorial is in worse shape than any park in the city. And I'd like to see if something can be done about that. So what's the issue with the fence?
we'll talk about that once we get to it on the agenda.
We'll get to it on
Oh,
that.
okay.
So
I didn't see it on the agenda.
You got any,
Okay, thank you.
you want to talk, you want to wait till we get to the fence on the agenda? Yeah,
Me?
right.
I'll wait.
Okay. All right, consider smoking restrictions in the parks during public events. Should we get-
I'll take that. So at the last meeting, it was kind of brought up to see if we would want to discuss and consider any type of regulations of smoking in the parks during public events. One of the primary reasons was just the cleaning up after the events and stuff like that. The committee, if you remember last month, kind of taxed me to talk to Chief Schlueter about that, just on the enforcement side of things. So I asked Jeff to come and just kind of discuss. If you want to come up to a microphone, Jeff, and just talk about the kind of enforcement end of something like that. We just want to have kind of a general conversation yet about maybe making that regulation.
Sure. Well, of course, we can enforce any ordinance that you guys create and stuff like that. But, you know, one of the things I would address in a situation like that is how realistic is it? What is it going to take? What is it going to cost if we write tickets? And one of the big things that we deal with is we always, if there's a violation of the law, typically we'd have to have a witness or be able to prove that that person did something. So, for example, if Chad's down at the park and Chad sees Bob over there smoking and Bob throws a cigarette down, Chad gives me a call, we send a squad over there. Chad says, hey, I saw Bob throw this cigarette butt down. I now have to subpoena Chad to come to court if that ends up being fought. So it ends up being not a big deal, but we also subpoena the officer. So the cost of the officer on overtime, for example, if there are overtime, would end up being, let's say, $75 for overtime plus benefits. I got Chad coming in. We got subpoena fees. We wrote out a ticket for maybe like $80 to $100. It costs us more than that to enforce it sometimes. So it gets a little bit more complicated when we deal with minor violations and how often we're going to be there and what are we going to actually see. I don't like it when we have ordinances, for example, that we don't enforce. It makes it tough because then people assume, well, what are you going to enforce? What aren't you going to enforce? When we have ordinances, they should be enforced. And even the minor ones should be enforced, or at least people should be educated on what to do. As far as this goes, I don't know if other cities have or have not enforced this. I know that sometimes, you know, there's been like no drinking and stuff at Little League games and stuff like that in other cities. As far as smoking areas, I've been to places where they have designated smoking areas. They have designated things to throw it in. I know we want to keep our parks clean. You know, it's a bad habit. Even driving down the road, we see people flick stuff out the window and stuff like that. So I don't know if that answers any of your questions, or if you got any questions for me, I'm more than happy to answer them. Sure.
So is it okay if we, as organizations, wouldn't bring you and be an enforcement, but if we politely ask them to go to designated smoking areas, even though if they don't know, we don't have an ordinance that, you know, it still could possibly get most people to go to a designated area in the park?
I think,
is that something we could do?
I think absolutely you could do it. You know, when you start getting special permits and stuff like that, I think it kind of gives you more of a control over that. It'd just be the enforcement that I'm not sure that we'd be able to enforce a lot.
And I understand that aspect.
I think you'd get a lot of compliance, believe it or not.
I do too.
If you said, okay, let's say we're down at the Pfeiffer Park here, and on the north side of the building, you want to set up an area with 4 cones, make an announcement at the beginning of each game or something. You know, if you like to smoke, we'd appreciate people going over there. Set up, you know, I know they have those big cone things that you can put cigarette butts into and knock garbage into them, because we don't want to start fires neither, because we see plenty of that throughout the summers too. But I think you know, you do a few of those things, it might be a good start. If we see that, hey, people still aren't following the rules, maybe then we have to up the ante a little bit. You know, I think I guess I don't want to interject what I would like you guys to do, but I foresee that I think you'd get a lot of compliance from most people if you ask them to comply, versus creating an ordinance to be able to say, hey, you can and can't do this. Because then we also run into problems sometimes where at Pfeiffer Park, for example, they say, okay, you can't do it during a special event. Well, if people are up on the tennis court smoking, is that part of that event because it's in the same park, or someone comes walking through there, you know, and all of a sudden then you get into the argument, well, they can smoke, but we can't smoke. So I think if you look at designated areas with the proper disposal containers for them, would be a very good start. But like I said, we absolutely can go out there. If the council decides to pass an ordinance, we will enforce it.
I think a private organization like your baseball league for the kids, you have your designated area and say, hey, look.
I think that might be a better way to go about it.
Yeah, and much better. Like the high schools, all their rules. no smoking on grounds. The Hortonville coach 3 years ago got nailed pretty bad by a little shoot.
Like
Because he lit up.
Please smoke in designated areas.
Yeah.
You know, a few signs down by the bleachers and
I
stuff.
mean, Chief's right. A lot of people will.
Sure.
If we run into a problem or some don't, then maybe we'll have to revisit this.
Or just a sign that says no smoking, please use designated area. It'll just deter it.
And what you find out with almost all of our ordinances, even all of our laws, majority of the population always follows them.
Right.
We deal with 5%, 95% of the time.
Yeah.
You know, so it's one of those things that you're going to get a lot of compliance by just asking people to do it, I think.
Yeah.
Sure.
And temporary signage can be easily
Better way to do it.
put up during events and stuff like that.
Yep.
You know, very simple.
Okay.
That sound all right to you? Dave?
Yep.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah.
Okay. This sculpture artist, she.
I don't think
do that one?
Tony's here, right? Lori, did you want to comment?
I texted her, but I haven't heard back from her, so
Yep.
if she came late, could you still fit her in?
Probably. And we talked about, we knew it was going to be a heavy agenda tonight and we didn't know how much time she needed. So the last we left it as maybe we'll push it off the next month. I had it on the agenda already, but maybe we'll push it off the next month just to give her more time because we got a heavy agenda. Then we got another meeting after this. So I didn't want to rush her in her presentation at all. So yeah, we'll just carry that over to the next month agenda.
Hey, you want that update on the Memorial Veterans Foundation plan?
Yeah, it's nice that Jim's here too. So we're in the process right now of, and we talked about this from the beginning when the Veterans Memorial Foundation created the memorial down at Taft Park, that eventually they were going to transfer the program, the donations and the inscription program to the city. So I've had staff, a conversation with staff internally. It's not going to be really that much of a burden on us to really do that. Judy's going to have account set up for that. So we can start that process. Ginger was going to be starting to work on an updated flyer just so it's tailored on how to, make donations for the city. And then we'll continue to contact. Did you guys do it once a year or twice a year with Matthews and Monuments before? Once a year? So they did it once a year. All we got to do is give the inscriptions to Matthews and Monuments and have him take care of that. So really not too much of a burden on the city. So we're involved in that process right now. So just kind of an update of that going on. Jim, you want to add up anything? That's pretty much what it is right there.
No, except the mural has started to paint, if you guys have noticed when you drive by. Hopefully they're planning on getting it finished by the end of the month. And then we're going to have some landscaping put up on that side of the park. And hopefully that'll get out and done in June. That's the major things we're planning on doing.
All right. Discuss replacement of the private fence on city property at Taft Park.
Yeah, so it was brought to our attention that the property to the west of Taft Park, CNR Waterfront Bar, they had a fence there for their dumpsters and some other storage that they have. Came to our attention that the fence was replaced. The fence is 100% on city property. We had the property surveyed a while back and for another purpose, and the property line is at the building. So one of the things I just wanted to bring to the committee's attention in case it starts getting out there, we did have this happen where the fence was replaced. It was made in a larger sense at this point. Our building inspector, Dave Vincent, has reached out to the owner, and we want to get a request from the owner to continue to allow that the city would allow that fence to be placed on the property. But I talked to Earl about this as well. We would like to come up with an agreement just so everybody's of the understanding, that the fence does not belong to the city, that we will allow the fence probably as an easement to be put on the property. Probably a waiver that if anybody gets hurt for some unforeseen reason, that it's not the city's responsibility, that it's the property owner's responsibility for that. And then just to spell out if any other future modifications happen on that. And that's to protect the city. I mean, we can't have adjacent or next door neighbors starting to build on public property and just, have that aspect going on. So I think everybody's in agreement that the fence itself does look a lot better than what it did before, and it helps out the memorial. It's just a matter of bringing, and that's up to you guys as the committee to, and I did receive a letter from the owner saying that she is requesting to retain it just for the purposes of having the dumpsters there. But it's the committee's ultimate decision. If you guys are okay with us moving forward with an agreement with the property owner. Earl would draft up the agreement just to make sure that everybody's on the same page. We know where the liability is. We know where the responsibilities are. We just want to make sure that we're not getting a situation where it's one of these squatter rights things that all of a sudden down the road, we lose the property because we didn't address it, down the road. So the property owner is right here and a spokesman if you guys got any questions, but I guess I'm asking the committee right now, if you guys are all okay with just moving forward with an agreement to make sure everybody's on the same page with that.
I'd like to get some of their input on it before we make a decision on it. Is everybody in agreement with that to see how they feel about it?
I would agree with you there.
So would you like to come up and
Well, this is kind of hard. Get you with these? Okay. What am I supposed to really say about it? The fence was done, and I guess Jim had asked us to replace the fence down at the bar because it was looking shabby, and it was. So it was replaced, and was it Dave Vincent? Said that it was, must have been made bigger, but it wasn't. It was put in the same holes that fence was in. And we're just asking that it be okay with the committee. That the fence stay.
Yep. It was made longer because it's going out to the road now. So it was made a little bit bigger.
Well.
Yep, I have pictures of that,
originally
so.
was, Chad, up to the sidewalk, and then you could see there was a steel post in there yet for a long time. And that's where the original fence had all come up to the sidewalk, so. And that's what they've replaced it for now.
and the veterans, you guys are okay with what they've done down there?
Oh, yeah, we think it's great.
That's what they
Compared to
wanted.
what it was.
That's, and I guess,
Before and after pictures here, if you guys want to see it.
and I guess that's what everybody's after, to get everybody happy on the same page with it. And it sounds as though you guys are happy, you're gonna be happy, and I guess it's just a matter of us approving it.
If anybody, if you want to pass these around, you can take a look at the difference of what it was and to what it is now.
As it is,
So,
yeah. Big
um,
difference.
They're kind of duplicate, not duplicates, but same idea.
Anybody on the committee have any questions or any response to it, or?
I'll take those and pass them
Yep.
over there.
And instead of board on board, it's a full fence.
Yep.
So basically, it was, you paid for the fence, or the veterans paid for the fence? And then the city is just saying it's on our property, but you're gonna maintain the fence?
What I would
So they
suggest is we come up with an agreement to define maintenance, define liability, define any future modifications. So there's a process with that, just so there's an understanding that, yes, this is on city property. And this just sets us forward for any other situations on other city properties moving forward, is protecting the city.
But
and
Chad,
that's- so
Earl's gonna have to draw something up and then have
Earl
them
would
agree
draw
with it.
something up with that.
Good, good. Okay.
Bob,
So do we,
in the back, there's.
go ahead.
If the owner would decide that she would like that fence painted in a couple of years, is that any problem? We wouldn't have to ask the city permission?
That's a two-little lumber.
Yeah.
To me, it looks, it's so natural. Looks good just the way it is.
Yeah, all they have to do is seal it.
But if, I'm
Yeah.
just saying, if in a couple of years you want that painted, is that okay to paint it?
I would say as long as it's not something that, blares out at you, that's something that kind of fits the scene, so to speak.
So as an art league member, what our vision was, and I haven't even shared this with you, I'm sorry, was that would be stained the same color as the steps that we're gonna stain that are going up the side of the building. Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to get all that stuff to blend in. And it's just gonna be more of a not camouflage, but it's just gonna be more of a monotone color that would blend in, and then the flag and the eagle and everything else would be the statement. So that's why I just want to ask, in a couple of years, it's treated lumber, it needs to sit. But if we should stain that in a couple of years to be the same color as the steps up above.
Yep.
I don't think anybody's gonna have
Yeah, Chad, just so everybody understands, there is going to be landscaping blend into it, break it up a little bit. Yeah, there'll be different types of landscaping around. There's about 6 different types of planting that's going in. And it'll be covered with that whole area over there, which will be 6 feet out from that fence and all the way up to the sidewalk along the river. That'll be all put in with red crushed granite stone. So it should look pretty nice.
Yeah. I think as long as the veterans group agrees with whatever they put up on the fence, since this is.
I think we're.
Yeah.
And we can wordsmith that in the agreement that like any modifications that they just gotta, us, the city has to bless it, type of thing. So we can wordsmith that.
Just talk with you.
What's that?
Just talk with you about it?
Well, we'll have the city attorney draft up an agreement and we'll put those terms all in the agreement and then we'll negotiate it. And we'll bring it back to this committee for final approval to move forward. So stay under agreement, setting the stage of, we know it's on city property. We just understand what the liability is, what the maintenance is, any modifications moving forward. Like I said, that's just to protect the city's assets in the future.
We need a motion on this to go forward?
Yeah, if you guys are okay with that, I'd rather see a motion that you instruct myself and the city attorney to start drafting up that agreement and work with the property owner.
Make the motion.
I'll second it.
And.
I'll second it,
Motion's
Bob.
been made and seconded to approve the private fence on city property at Taft Park. All in favor?
All right.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
The point of you on the committee.
Director's report.
Let's see. Nothing too exciting. I mean, so far our payment machines at Riverside Boat Launch have been working very well. Still looks like cash is edging out credit card sales just by a little bit because you can see last month we had about $2,400 in cash and $1,900 in credit sales. So it was just kind of interesting to see if we were getting more credit card sales, but it's still a little bit more cash. And we're just busy getting things ready for summer employment. Things in the parks are heating up. We've got a lot of tournaments starting to go on. We got Michelle and Jane are busy taking shelter reservations left and right. So things are going on with that. Also want to give a year of service anniversary report. Paul Nelson, one of our park mowers, completed 6 years of service with the city on April 20th. Jane Murphy in our office, and I can't believe it, completed her 2nd year of service with the city on April 22nd. And then just one thing I didn't put in here, I've been working with youth baseball. They made a request to install a short piece of fence over at Memorial Park. Or Pfeiffer Park, you're correct. Over by the new bathroom facility that they built on the southwest corner from the building to the current fence that's there. They requested to put a small piece of fence in there just to kind of prevent kids and corral them into the park and not allow them to scoot around the backside of the building into the old Hardee's parking lot there. So I looked at our donation policy with that. Our donation policy says that a department head can approve a donation to the city if it's under $1,000 worth of maintenance, annual maintenance per year. It's a $1,300 fence, so it's not going to be $1,000. So we did go ahead and do that, and we'll be installing that. I don't know in the near future.
Should be in the next couple of weeks. We're trying to get it up as fast as possible.
Yep. So that's another addition that youth baseball has made to our park system. That's all I got.
I don't have anything. Anybody on the committee got anything? Future agenda items.
Yep. Well, I did reach out to our Lauren over at the Outagamie County Park System, the director there. And sometime in the future, once they finish up with their comprehensive outdoor and recreation plan, we'll invite him to come here to talk about that plan and then see if there's any input in there about the mountain bike park that we've been discussing in the past. I know they've been kind of talking about that, so I'm kind of interested to see if they've included anything in that front. Then we'll also bring back the sculpture art at River Trail Park and bring Tony back for that as well.
She isn't not here yet, then, huh?
No, I don't see her. I think she was going to come next month. So,
okay.
I would like to also add for next month's agenda, if it's a recommendation or whatever, since we're on the committee. The dumpster at Taft Park, I would like to bring that up again and discuss that again. Maybe possible removing the dumpster at Taft Park or finding new locations, or I would like to invite Jim Yeager and veterans organizations and see what kind of upkeep it's been. When it was put in, they're like, well, we'll wait and see how it goes, and I just would like to have an update on how that it's been being kept up. So.
And we talked about that last night, whether it should go on to Public Works, because it originally was a Public Works decision to install them off of a contract that we had with the Riverwall. If you look at our next meeting date, actually, Bob and Mike, it actually works out that Public Works and Parks and Rec are meeting the same night. So technically what we could do is have at the tail end of the Board of Public Works meeting, have Parks and Rec convene if you guys want to do that, and have a joint little meeting for that one topic, if you want, and kind of go from there. But something we can talk about further down the line.
Yeah, that's fine with me. Anybody got anything else?
To adjourn.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
What about the lawn mowing that Jim said about the lawn mowing at Taft Park that he says it looks like, I don't remember what words he said, but it looks like it's yucky. Yucky.
I'll talk to our superintendent and see what's going on there. I don't know if it's the lack of mowing or if it's that the grass died. I'm not sure what Jim referenced in that aspect, so I'll have to reach out and see what that is all about.
You also know that there's dogs that go potty in that lawn and stuff, and it's wrecking the lawn, and the people are not picking it up. Dog and stuff.
We do know of a problem with dog waste. We have an ordinance for that. We've been trying to look back at our cameras to see, and it's very difficult to see,
Stop that place and get some people, and I can just take and put it up by their doors.
Probably not the best idea. If you have a date and time.
In a picture?
If anyone has a date and time that they notice it happening and someone doesn't pick it up, let us know that date and time, and we can go back on that camera and find the video and bring that to our police department for enforcement. That helps a lot. So we don't have staff looking over days worth of video to try to find that situation.
Do that too, then I can go up to their door. Just offering my help.
Anybody got anything else? Entertain motion to adjourn. Got a second? Got a second?
Second, yeah.
Motion made and second to adjourn. All in favor? We're adjourned.
Okay. For those online, we are going to pause for a little bit and then we'll move into the committee of the whole meeting. So we'll just mute for a second and be back in a couple minutes.
The meeting as a whole, stand for the pledge. Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Look, is there any changes to agenda, Chad?
There's not.
Look for on a
Move to
motion to
adopt
adopt
the
the
agenda.
agenda. Motion's been made,
Second.
made and seconded. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, presentation for discussion regarding the library's annex project.
So I'm Ann Hunt, the library director, here with Ginny Schleiss, the library board president. I can't remember when we were here last. Ron was still with us. Unfortunately, he's passed. We miss him every day. And at the time, he introduced the concept different from the Riverside concept that we had. If you remember, that was going to be housing the library, condos, townhouses, all on the Riverside. And we found that that was a lot of moving pieces. Developer got ill. WIDA tax credits changed. So we decided to simplify it and asked ourselves, how could we make this simpler and still get pieces from the library that we were going to get with that 20,000 square foot library? How can we still get those pieces that we're missing on a smaller building across the street? And if you'll just bring up the site plan, I'll show you what across the street looks like. So the property directly west of the library is owned by, well, technically the library board now, I guess. So this is where we're proposing to put the facility, and it would be 10,000. There are a couple extra feet. And you can see that it fits in that property with the parking lot, with the houses there and the building. I'm not sure whose building it is now. It was Malarkey's building. That's how we refer to it. So I'm sorry who the new owner is.
Cornerstone Insurance.
Cornerstone Insurance Building. So you can see that all of those properties still remain with this facility placed there. If you go to the floor plan now. So this is the floor plan that we've been working with. And I'm sorry, I'll step back a bit and say that we've been working with Keller to develop this floor plan, the site plan. We also have a movie of a walkthrough of the building at the end of this. And so again, I'll say that we tried to think to ourselves, what is it that the present library is missing that we would have gained from that 20,000 square foot building? One of the biggest things you'll see where the curved window is at the lower is a teen area. And right now in the present library, there's no space for teens. There's just basically two lines of shelves of books, no place to sit, no place to.
Can we ask any questions while you were giving your
Oh,
presentation?
sure. There's no place to sit, no place to just congregate, no place to work together. So people often ask me, is there a quiet area of the library? And I always say there's quiet times at the library, but not quiet area, because at 3:30, 4 o'clock, when the teens get off of school, they all come to the library and they take their jackets off, put their book packs down, and take over that entire computer area that's in the front of the library. So it gets kind of loud. You know, they're running back and forth, talking about their games and their day and whatever. So I've always said there's quiet times, but not really a quiet place. The only quiet place we had was the meeting room that's in the lower level, which is, capacity of 40 people. So it's pretty big room for one person to study for a test. We also have, okay, Ginny wants to jump.
I just want to say that in a bigger picture, the city of New London really does not have a place for teens. There might be churches might have a small place or something, but just a community place for teens to gather and know they're welcome and can be hung out and work projects together or watch a video together in a safe place that the parents know they're there. This has become a very important part and always has been from the library board to have this teen space. It's lacking in the community, and also they overrun the library once they get off of school.
You're gonna have computers and stuff in that area, in the teen area?
There will be laptops, gaming. They will be able to, there may be computers, but the computer area is more to the other side. I'll show that in a second.
Okay.
But we will have plenty of laptops that they can check out and use in the library.
There also is, as you can see, like a counter, like a little bar area with a counter space. And we're hoping, we have talked with teens up at the high school, and they have a DECA program, which is business training. And what we envision with them is to stock it at the beginning, and then with them selling and restocking, taking responsibility and getting, I don't know what they call it, credit or service time to run that themselves. That this is their space. But as you see, there is a desk and a chair there too. So we feel it still needs to be supervised, and the vision there is to hire a part-time person who is there from 3 to 8 or whatever the teen hours are, someone who's a librarian but also loves teenagers. So when they come, they just know that person's there. That's a person who begins to have relationships, and we also just see that as a very positive role model type of an adult that loves teens and is there with them doing whatever they're doing. So it's not just a space, it's a community, it's a live organism that is for the teens. So I just want to give you some drama of what's going on there. Go ahead, Ann.
So since Bob brought up the computer space, if you move over, you'll see that there's a computer area right there that has 7 or 8 desktops, which I still think is important in the world today, even though a lot of you are using laptops right now. There's a lot of people who are not comfortable with the laptop. And as I've stated in the past, we now have a lot of people coming in for unemployment to register for their benefits because you can't do it online anymore. You have to do it online. You can't do it with a telephone. You used to be able to call it in. And now they also have to create a resume. They have to upload their resume, and they have to search for jobs. So it's difficult for a person who is not comfortable with a computer. It's especially difficult on a laptop. So we spend a lot of time with people doing their unemployment. But then there's any other uses of computers. As you know, everything today is online. You can hardly do anything in person anymore. So that's going to be a very important section. We also, right now, we have about 8 laptops. We just got 5 from a grant with the OWLS, our Outagamie Wapaka Library System, and the Appleton Public Library Friends wrote a grant. So we got 5 laptops that we check out now to people to take home. We may have to get hotspots in order to actually use those in some areas, but so people take those home and use them. We have laptops that you can right now use in the library. You can check them out and just go anywhere in the library, and this will be the same, will be accessible here. So while we're in that area, you see that there's 4 study rooms. So that's the rooms I was talking about when a person wants to come in and study for a test. We have a ELL student and a tutor that comes in. That's a perfect room for them. Sue Moore uses our library a lot. She tutors the kids that are no longer allowed at the high school. So she tutors them and she uses the library. She has to be in the public eye because law, you can't be in the downstairs room. So she does that mostly in the middle of the library right now. And she's just as much, to me, she's just as much counselor as she is a teacher. So a lot of stuff gets talked about and probably should be in the private area. But we also have lawyer in the library, Hans Thompson, comes in once a month and does free consultations, 30-minute consultation for anyone who wants to ask him a question, find out what's happening. in their life. If they have a question about, oh, do I need a will? I have child support. I'm getting divorced. What are the papers I need?
What's the capacity of the?
So we have 2 rooms that hold four tops. And then, this furniture here is just a placeholder. It's not necessarily, I don't know about a couch and chairs in that one study area. But we also have one on the lower, if you see that, there's 6 or 8 people could gather there. And we do have students that come in. Right now, we have a 6 top, and they use that for their class projects. They've also reserved the meeting room and use it for projects. So this would allow them, we're anticipating whiteboards being on one wall so that they can write like this board over here. It would be one entire wall. We have monitors, so that it would be hardwired, so you can plug in your laptop, you can plug in your computer, and then monitors so that you can share your screen with the room. So it could also be used in a business setting. It doesn't just have to be for students so if you have a business meeting and you want to share it with your clients or whatever, you could very easily. We have actually had people sell houses, sign mortgage papers, all of those things in the library. Yes.
For just as a point, probably with all of those rooms, you probably want to have your designer include windows and all of those doors.
They all have, they're all glass doors.
Yeah, just because.
We can see in and they can see out.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about there are some windows on the outside and I'm not sure about those. That would be distracting. We may cut those out. But yes.
Something you do
Oh,
at
yes.
school.
That's why we have somebody in the teen room too.
Yeah.
Yes. So if you move up from there, yeah. So that's the meeting room. That's the meeting room that we are increasing the size so that we can hold our own programs in the meeting room. So right now, I don't know if you come by on a Thursday afternoon at 1:30, we have our summer reading programs outside on the lawn. And we could have up to 100 kids come to our programs. And we can't hold them in the library right now. So if it's raining or 90% humidity, which happens often in July, we go to one of the schools in their gymnasium, and you kind of you lose the connection to the library when you're going off site. So we like to have them at the library. They check out stuff, and so they remember that it's a library program. Excuse me. And attached to the kitchen, to the meeting room, there is the kitchen that would have stove, refrigerator, dishwasher, all the things that you would need to throw a wedding shower or a birthday party, which we have had people do in our meeting room so far, and they have to bring everything in and take everything out. Also, we have a lot of programs that we could use this kitchen for. In the past, we've done canning, we've done how to make beer, we've done a coffee program. So we do a lot of programs that we could utilize the kitchen. Plus, I think you could stream things in there because we're intending to have a monitor with streaming capabilities. So maybe Fox Valley Tech is doing something that we want to have students here look at or something like that.
That's your meeting area.
Yep.
The meeting area.
That's all chairs and tables right there.
Yeah.
It's enough room for 99 or 100. I can't remember.
It's something that the community really needs, is a place to meet. That's another big lacking area. As our board long ago tried to figure out these 5 things that we need. This is one of the big ones because, first of all, for our own needs and programming, our little space downstairs is not enough. And so that is for that, but also for other programs or, we give out, we allow nonprofits to come in, but we could have a small fee to have profits come in. And also it's just a place that people don't have a way to, if they want to have a bridal shower, a baby shower, the library, it's about meeting the needs of the community and giving them a space.
Right. So right now we have only nonprofits use our library, our meeting room. We don't allow for-profit because there are so many nonprofits, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, church groups, there's a lot of people looking for free space. And so we've provided that over the years, but again, if it's a for-profit, we could charge a small fee, or especially if they're using the kitchen. So you can move to the other side of the,
You like the civic groups meet there?
Lions Club and stuff. Yeah.
the Lions Club meets and has dinner, so they
Yeah.
wouldn't want that, but they might hear,
Yeah.
they could.
Mhm.
We've already had someone say they would use that room,
For that.
that space. So go to the, so these 4 rooms here are what we are really interested in, and it's the STEAM space and the industrial or fab lab, which is Fabrication Lab. So in these spaces, we've created spaces so people can create, invent, explore. So with technology, so we'll have 3D printers, sewing machines, laminators, button makers, all kinds of things to make crafts, to invent things. We'll have robotics, circuits, just anything that you can think of that would be technology related, to get kids interested, to get adults interested, to show new technology. The 3D printer, we have one now, and you'd be amazed at how many people said they've heard of it, but have never actually seen it working. And so we've had it, we've had a lot of people comment on that. So STEAM right now, with the A for arts is the in thing. And what we're really concerned with or trying to do with this building is make it flexible, because in 10 or 15 years, it may not be STEAM, it may be something else. And we want to be ready for that, something else that's coming down. So everything in this building should be flexible and movable. But the industrial area is going to be a little bit more industrial machines, for instance, a laser cutter or CNC machines. Now, when I'm talking about laser cutters and CNC machines, there are desktop versions that you can use to do little projects. People could come in, and I watched yesterday, somebody had a laser cutter and they showed just how to make a little wooden sign out of this laser cutter. So we're not certifying people on these things. They will have training. We'll have some kind of a system that they would have to go through to be able to use these machines. But at the end of it, we're hoping that they're going to be able to explore and do things that they've never thought they could do outside. Plus, it may get people interested in the trades. We're also hoping to partner with businesses in town, maybe, or outside of town, and try and get them to sponsor a section of this and have them come in and set something up to show their trade. So plumber, electrician.
Is this modeled after someone else's? Have you?
Well, we spent some time with Fond du Lac. If you look at the Fond du Lac Public Library and you go to their idea space, I think it's called, you'll see that they have those 2 rooms, and they have the music space and the video space. So yes, these things have been done in other libraries, probably not on this big of a, quite as large as this. What Fond du Lac did was they took the basement of their building and maybe the size of this, maybe a little bit bigger. So this would be a little bit bigger than Fond du Lac's. But if you really want a good idea, they just, that's the library I was at looking at it yesterday with the sign, but they also just bought an embroiderer, which I always thought was for fun. But you can program in what you want it to embroider, and and all you have to do is change the threads. So you would bring in your idea, you'd program it into the machine, and it does all the work. You just change the ribbons or the thread. But what we're hoping is that it sparks an interest in kids that, don't want to go to school, maybe want to do something else. And not even just the kids, but, what about the kid who graduated from college and is like, not my thing. that's not really what I want to do. So maybe they could come here and learn a new something. And it's about sparking your imagination. And I was also talking to somebody a little bit about who had the idea studio, that's what it's called, on their website, and said that you could go there and make a prototype of your invention, and then you could get it patented or something like that. She worked with patents. And she was using them as an example of someplace you could go to do these things.
I'll just, before you go on, I'll just interject a little bit of the bigger community vision again, in that the idea of involving the tech in the STEAM area. I mean, again, streaming in some type of program. There are people who can't get down to the tech. We don't have the tech having classes here anymore, and that might be a possibility. The other thing is, a lot of this we're hoping will be volunteer driven, and that people who do have skills, and maybe they're retired or whatever, and they have an interest in sharing that, we can have them set up a program or a class to learn whatever the skill is that they have. So the point about community is the older and the younger, and just getting us to work and share as a community in these spaces. So it's a space to do that.
Right, we see it as very intergenerational.
Yes. Mhm.
And mentoring perhaps throughout the entire building. So the music and the video space is again for inventing, exploring. So we're going to have a green screen in the video space, so you could actually make videos in there, edit videos. We would have equipment perhaps that you could take your old videos and transform it into digital. Music, the same thing. Maybe some kid wants to know if they would want to be an announcer, and we would have recording stuff that they could try it out. Or you have a two-piece band, that wants to come in and see what they sound like. These rooms would be more soundproof than the other ones. So that's what it's all about inventing, exploring, and creating.
Learning.
We do have a video walkthrough if you'd like to.
And didn't you say that this could be also locked off too?
The meeting room could be.
Yeah.
So the meeting room has locked off doors there. So you could have after-hour program, any community organization or business that wanted it after hours. We close at 6 o'clock right now on Friday, but they could use it after that. If we just could lock off those two doors, and then I don't know, there's got to be some like a code you get, punch it in, and then you have access to the bathroom. And then you would have the bathroom, the kitchen, and the meeting room. The rest of it would be locked off.
And over
Anything
in the
else?
Fab Labs, STEAM Lab area, that one wall was movable, correct?
We have a garage door back
That was a
there.
garage door.
So
Yeah,
that
it's a
you
garage
can,
door to get into
so you
it too.
could bring in bigger things if you wanted to.
We actually spent time at the high school talking to the tech people, the teachers there, because they're also looking at doing some changes in their fab areas. And they gave us a lot of good, heads up on, the doors are there. The storage room probably is going to be needed for those areas, because some of that machinery will come and go. If they're doing a wood project, they can't leave it out, and just ventilation, things like that. But anyway, we are trying to get good feedback and what the needs are. And the point for that was to adjunct what they're doing up at the high school. And Principal Yerke felt like, the kids who are not allowed on campus anymore, here's a place where they actually could go and do some of these things that they don't have access to on the campus anymore. And like Ann said, the kid who goes to college 1 year or 2 year and that's not for them. And here is a place where they can maybe get some exposure to trades.
In addition, Mr. Yerke did mention that since COVID, people have been doing online school.
Yeah.
And some of the kids don't want to come back.
Yeah, that's true.
They want to stay online. They want to stay virtual. And this would give them the opportunity that they wouldn't get because they don't go to school. I thought that kids were having problems, but some people must have thrived.
Yeah, must have liked it.
So we do have a film, a 6-minute film that we can show you the conceptual
Look of it.
look of it.
The study rooms.
So you could see from the outside, they did try and bring in a lot of elements from the across the street from the library with the brick and the lintel that goes on top and the cross windows, the columns from the original entrance. So that's what we have.
That's what we have.
Is
The
that-
cost, I guess, you know, is
Okay, so how many more staff are we gonna need for this compared to what we have in the library now?
So we're we're working on that. We have an anticipated retirement coming up, and we could take that money and hire part-time. I think we could do part-time a lot, and minimize the staff across the street because everything will come across the street, like the computers, the fax machine, the copier, all of that will come across the street, and all that will be left at the library is the children's section, the adult section, and checking out. So I think that that building would take less staff, and we'd have more staff over on this side.
So the library would still be upstairs in the old building
The,
also?
the library would still be in the old building, yes. That would be the books, the print, all of the materials that you can check out will still be at the old library.
So at the old library too, we also see those spaces that are freed up by not having teens, by all the machines, the fax machine, et cetera, that we can create like soft chair spaces for people who just want a quiet place to read, or to a couple people like to gather on Thursday mornings and read a paper together or whatever. We just see that as another type of space that can have, you know, some comfortable chairs in a circle at the table or things like that that we can improve. And then downstairs, you had some ideas of what can happen downstairs at the old library.
Yeah, we could incorporate some of the children's area that's upstairs right now, some of the imagination spaces that are there, the kitchen, the things that the kids play with for half an hour or an hour, and it's using their imagination. So it's kind of a mini children's museum, and actually the museum has a space too in there, in the museum that could maybe move, and we could make it all imagination.
So to answer Mr. Dorsey's question, you guys have a full-time staff member now that's potentially retiring.
Correct.
That you would replace as part-time in addition to the extra staff that's needed at the new facility?
Do you want to just explain that?
So we have a potential retirement coming up.
So what would the staff be at the new place? How many bodies are we looking at?
There, we'd need at least 3 or 4 bodies there. So one in the teen area, somebody in the reception area, who could potentially help in the computer area. And then one in the Fab Lab or the STEAM area, whichever one is open.
So we need 4 more city employees.
3 more, and it would be part-time.
All of them?
3 of them part-time or just?
Possibly, or a full-time person could move to the other library, from the library.
So what do you need at the old library?
I said we could do with 1 person at night with a page.
So we're looking at one.
Those
extra-
details still need to be worked out. So I don't want to speak exactly how much this is going to cost because I have to sit down with the finance director and figure out exactly. Plus Keller did not give us exact numbers on utilities. So I was using the utilities from the library that we have. And that's probably more than we need. But you have full-time staff, family health. So it's substantial. But those are just details. Those are details we'll have to work out. But I'm pretty confident we can fund most of it. But I have to talk about it.
And unfunded under your current budget, or are you looking at a budget expansion?
That's something we'll talk about. I can't say, I haven't sat down and worked out every single number because it's potential retirement right now. And I don't want to say that's what we're going to use.
Them are just questions that our constituents are
Yep,
going to ask us as soon as they
absolutely.
watch this video.
And then when we have those exact numbers, I'll come back to you.
What do you want from us, or what do we want?
okay, this is what we want from you. We have some larger donors, businesses, banks and things. One of their biggest questions, we have larger donors, and one of their big questions is, what is the city committing to this project? And right now, we say, well, the project has changed and we presented it to you guys, but we hadn't gotten that far. So that's what this meeting is about, and your next capital meeting is about, that you guys begin to think about how much you guys can be a part of this. Now, the project is 3 million, and we actually have raised 1.5 already. And so what we're really thinking from you guys, if you can figure out 250 times 3 years, each year for 3 years, 500 at the minimum, divided it out. We have banks that'll give us bridge loans. And what we're thinking is, once we have a commitment from you guys, we tell our donors, we want to dig this fall. We want to dig this fall because they can do the capital, all the construction documents in 8 to 10 weeks. We then we send out bidding maybe by the end, by fall, or late summer, early fall, and they could actually begin digging the late fall. Now that's still a possibility. Once we know how on board you guys are, this isn't something that we really can do on our own. And I'll just give you a couple examples here. When Wanakee Public Library in 2018 wanted to build a $13 million library, which they did, they only asked the fundraising committee to raise 1,650,000 of that. That's only 13% of the project. And Oregon Public Library, they have a $12 million library that they're trying to do. They're asking the fundraising committee to raise 4 million, which is 33%. So right now we haven't formally asked you because we're trying to get all the ducks in a row so you really know what you would be committing to. We totally believe this is something New London needs if we ever want to go forward in this town. Go ahead.
We still don't know what we're committing to. I mean, is this?
What is your what is your question?
The operating.
The operating cost of this going forward. When this was first brought up, it was that the museum was going to expand. Now the museum is staying where it is. We have all this stuff in storage for the museum. So that's off the table now because we're still going to have a library over here. There's this, for me to sell this to the 4th district, there's way too many unanswered questions at this time. Just don't see.
So what's happening with the museum? So the museum, the library board had made a decision at the beginning of this, way back with the old project, that we had to focus on one project at a time. So we can't have, so the museum, Friends of the Museum are a very active group. And I'm sure in the background, there's still fundraising and stuff. And when we get this project done, the museum, we will be working with the Friends of the Museum. Right now, we're working with the Friends of the Library to make what can be best for New London for that project, but we cannot. So that's what's happening. Yes, the museum is amazing. It has so many collections, etc. That will be a new project that'll come to you when this one is done. So this one to us has a great need for the community in so many of those different areas that we explained to you.
I'd like to lead out that, and I've told you this before, that I think this project is amazing. I agree with you. I think New London does need it. I think our school district would use it. I think our citizens would use it. I think it is an outstanding project. You guys pat yourself on the back, did a very well job. I think the hold up here is our constituents of what they want. There's a lot of unanswered questions. With that said, I mean, I know these guys have a lot of questions too. I have a lot of questions here I'd like to ask.
Yeah, let's
leading
ask
up to it.
them. And we'll write them down so we can get you as close. I mean, one of our bigger donors also wants to know, how do you foresee the running of this, and what will be the ongoing expenses for you? And so those are some unknowns. I guess that would be more on Anne and Judy to
figure that out. Well, I think right now this was an introduction to the project again, because we had talked about in the past, we were talking about coming back to you to give you the project. So we've spent the last couple of months, more than a couple of months, working with Keller. And then we also had to reaffirm all of those donors and pledges that we got for the project on the riverside. So we've been spending our time going back and talking to donors. So we haven't really moved forward with the fundraising until now. So now is the time that we are now moving forward with new donors. Up until this point, we've only gone back to touch people that we've already talked to, and they've already pledged their money. And so that's where the $1.5 million is coming from. As far as the operating, we're going to have to work on that, and we're going to come back to you again with that when we have more known answers. I have to talk to Keller to get a better number on the utilities. Have to get a better number on how many people exactly to run the other library. I think we can do it between the two buildings with more bodies. I don't need one full-time person. I need more bodies to fill hours.
You had said that there's some students that don't want to go back to school because they've been out of school for a year. You have shut the doors to the library for the last year. I don't know how confident you can be that people are going to come back. They found other ways to get internet and all that. Right now in the world, superinflation is right around the corner. We're going to be costs are going to be going up all over the place. I just don't think the timing for something like this would be appropriate because of COVID and
Tim, I 100% disagree with you. 100%, 100 and 200%. The longer we wait, if we waited even until spring to do this, now we need another at least $200,000. Another $250,000 just because the bids will go up just because it's the new year. Now, you know what, this should have been done 10 years ago. If we had done it even 5 years ago, Keller said it would have been a $2.4 million project. And I've been here in this community since 1988, and there are serious deficits in this community. And if you want to grow, to me, this is the thing. It's going to cause economic growth. It's going to cause just a sense of community. Your teens are going to have a place to go. So I respectfully disagree with you, Tim. Now. It really, we have to go forward. And I'm really hoping with this new council that you guys can catch a vision, because I know how busy Ann is with the library and how people have been calling saying, when is the library opening up? And all those kids that go to the library. So I've been on this board for a long time, and I know how essential it is to our community. We would do a disservice if we try and say, let's wait 5 years. Then you're talking about a $5 million project for the same thing. And you have all those years that service is still not being provided to the community. So I will take it. And I'm just telling you, I'm passionate about it. I want to cast this vision. I want you guys to really think about this and the possibility for our city. All right. Last questions. I'll let Ann take over.
I was going to answer the internet question a little bit, is that a lot of people received internet for free during COVID. So the school district provided hotspots. The school district provided a lot of stuff so that those kids who couldn't be in school could get online. And Charter also provided it. I think those things are going to stop when the economy and the COVID stops. And so there's always going to be that divide, that digital divide that some people have and some people don't.
To comment on what you said with the hotspots and stuff, that the school did a great job of providing these kids hotspots. But what you don't know is how short they fell of that. There is several students that missed out. They're in rural areas that didn't get it. They didn't have places. And the school reacted. They opened up their parking lot so they could go there and sit in their car to get Wi-Fi. Just some of the little stuff that I know that where they fell short to comment and
to
add
get
to what you had.
Wi-Fi. That whole park area, that little patio area on the side is for people to come and have a place to be, to get Wi-Fi without necessarily having to go into the building.
I just want to thank you both for your presentation and thank you for your passion, Jenny. Personally, I believe that, you know, there was a vision for what was going to happen on the riverfront, and you know, that was a pretty grand vision, much more money. And I also feel that the library board and friends of the library board did a tremendous job of raising funds and capital. I remember when Ron Steinhorst pitched this idea and stood, this body of voters, of people, this council applauded. And I know a little bit of time has gone past, only a couple months. And I see that you've gained momentum and a lot more solid plan. And I just personally feel that anybody, any city that would not support this project would be foolish. It would be beyond foolish to
It would
not
be
support.
beyond foolish because the library is you. The library is part of the city and it represents you in a way. It is a service you provide to the city.
When you look at the needs of our society, of our next generation, of whether it be soldiers, whether it be business owners, whether it be, when you look at the next generation, we need this. And to the point where I'm almost in tears when I look at how badly this city, this society needs something like this. And I'm gonna personally, as a first district representative, do anything I can to support this. And I'm not gonna nitpick about one or two heads or anything.
5,000 here,
There's a
10,000
vision.
there. I mean,
There's a way to do this and make
There's a
this
way.
happen. We've spent more money on projects that really made a difference this much in the community and in so many generational lives that I'm going to stick with this. I'm going to let you develop your idea as it works. And I'm going to find personally a way to support this no matter what. So thank you for your
Thank
time.
you.
thank you.
I second that, Johnny.
It would be a shame to shoot it down this early on.
Well, I think just having something that the community as a whole can use. I mean, you think of a library and you think of just going in and, books, whatever. Like, this is going to be different.
Way different.
This is going to be where you can have
A
meetings.
hub.
Yeah, I think.
We went last week and we picked up a couple of books and got DVD movies to take out and watch. That was the original library.
I kind of like having it two separate.
One big appointment is where I'm at.
John, I agree with your statement fold. I mean, I think this is a modern day idea, like I've said. However, we answer to our constituents and they have a lot of questions. They have a lot of concerns with it. And that's where my questions came from.
Yes.
Before we end here, I mean, I want to let everybody else ask their questions and stuff. But I do, like I said, I do have a list of questions and I'll start now asking what's been asked of me. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to jump in and I'll sit back because this is participation from all of us. And we asked a couple of them to start out. What will the daily, monthly, annual operating budget for the building and taxpayers be above your budget now? Kind of answered that already as far as
We're working on the details.
Grass cutting. Along with that, the added man hours to our force, like our streets department, our parks department, cutting grass, the maintenance, that kind of thing. Are we going to have to add? We got to look at. Are we going to have to add?
You already plow and shovel that. There's not much green space if you saw. So you already take care of that property by plowing it and you shovel the sidewalks already.
Do you have any verbal or written intent to use by local or surrounding businesses for these?
We talked to Keller about that. That was important to us. And they said they would take in-kind donations. They would use any of the contractors around here. They would, I mean, it's a bid process, obviously, but they're very cognizant of using local, as we were too when we talked to them.
That question was more driven by your facilities, like your steam room and whatnot. Have you talked to local businesses that have intent to use this, or are they interested in that?
We're working on that right now.
Does Fox Valley Tech have a verbal or written intent to use a relationship? Have you guys developed?
We've
any?
talked to them too, but there's no written, no. We've had a discussion early on with them.
It'll be easier when there's a building.
How does our school system benefit from this? We talked about the Wi-Fi issue. Is there any?
Well, we've talked, I mean, obviously the students could come there and finish their projects, or we talked to the school about what projects they could, I mean, what machines and that could be in there, how they could use it, the students could use it. I did try to get them to see my vision of a grant that they could write in partnership with us. I'm not sure how far that went.
So you guys have started relations to?
We've been talking to the tech,
And
tech
even
guys.
The teams with DECA, that the teams would take over the responsibility of the quote cafe area in the teen area. So very much bringing in the schools into whatever's going on.
One more I have, what is your projected income from the facility to offset costs to the taxpayers? You guys kind of
Well,
express a little bit of
if I
that.
can just say, we are a service to the city. We're not really a revenue making entity. So whatever we make is not going to offset our
Well, you guys
operating.
brought up.
I mean, we can rent out the meeting room, but
and charging some for profit, you had said in the thing, I wrote that.
sure,
down.
we could do that, but it's like counting on people to not bring back books to operate, to run the library. You want people to be bad to run the library, so I don't think, you should look at the library as a service, not as a revenue generating building. But we could have some revenue, yes. Just like we do. I mean, we taxes and copies brings us in way more money than fines ever will. Just for the record. We should get rid of fines. That's my next, that's another equalizer. So everybody in the community can use it and not pay the penalty of their parents not bringing the book back. That's my soapbox, sorry.
One of my questions, what's the max capacity of the building at one time?
I don't know. I don't think
We could find that out though.
Okay.
Keller could figure that out. I mean,
go by the square footage. The meeting room holds 100 people.
But
The teen space, what we planned for was 30 people, probably 30 people in each area, 25 people. That's what we had talked about. That's how he figured it out.
You can't go on the square footage of the building because you gotta minus all your appliances, all your tables, all your chairs.
Right.
Right.
Each person, it's per fire code is each person takes up 4 square feet.
Okay.
So my last question, and I kind of discussed this with you before, is and as a concern of I'm sure all of us are going to get. What puts tax dollars for this project ahead of street repair tax dollars and other infrastructure dollars within the city? How do you prioritize it?
Oh, Ginny mentioned it earlier. We think it's an economic
we think it
economic development. It'll
It
bring
truly
people
is.
into the city.
even just for the day, for hey, look at this city, let's move here. I got this programming for my kids here, and I mean, it's
Right now, if we want to talk about revenue for 1 second, right now we get 42%, I think, of our budget comes from county funding. So we get over $240,000 that comes from county funding. And that is from people outside of the city that use the library. So that's Muckwa, Lebanon, Liberty. Any person that comes into the library and checks out a book is charged back to the county. Are you a county supervisor? That is correct. It's based on our cost per serve. So right now, county residents who don't live in the city of New London are paying 42% of the library's budget.
I have one last question. Are you looking to have it approved by the city council, or would you be having it go to a referendum?
Oh, we would love for you to just step on board and see the vision and come along with us.
We know you're thinking of, Ann has talked about being creative, you know, with your finances with the downtown
Well,
project.
I don't know.
or- I don't know how that could get
let's not.
poured in, or, I mean, I just think there is a way for you guys, and we're continuing to fundraise. But we need to know from you guys some commitment, so we can tell those owners, yes, the city's on board. They'll say, what on board means is a financial commitment. They just can say, oh yeah, they like it. We've said that and they go, well, how much are they helping you with this? Well, we're working on it, you know.
So when you brought out, we'll bring that back, you brought out $250,000 for 3 years?
Something like that, or you guys, you can figure it out, but I'm saying we need that, and it can be bridged out, you know, because banks have offered to give us a bridge, you know, and
Well, most of our pledges are
that way anyway.
pledged over years.
Yeah, so 3 to 5 years are most of the pledges.
That's $250 a year for 3 years, right?
Something
$750,000.
like that.
That would be slightly more than our highest donor.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think also, Mayor Mark, I think this thing's been kicked down the road for over 10 years.
Yeah.
It's getting frustrated.
Thank you, Fred.
I can see your frustrations of mine too. And I just wish it would have come to fruition before Ron left us, but
Yeah, we do.
we gotta put a referendum out. That's just kicking the can further down the road. We gotta come to a decision. You either do something or don't do something. We blew 80 grand on the other project, and then unfortunately, the guy got ill, so we'll go further with that. There's 80 grand already that we could have used on something like this. I think like time is of the essence. We gotta get something done.
Really.
And now, not 6 months from now or a year from now.
Was the 80 grand from the city or was it from the donations?
Not from us. Mm-mm. That was just economic
Economic
development.
Development Fund, that went to try to
So it's just gone.
recruit and retain a
Well,
developer. So that was, wow, a long time ago.
A long time ago, different era.
This is a new, you know,
This is a different project than that one.
It's a different project.
It's a different
And you know
project.
what?
I think it's a better project.
We both say that, and even the people that we come back to and say, this is the project now, sorry that the other one didn't work. Majority of them say, this is a better project. It is more concise. It is very driven by exactly the needs of our community.
Some of the, yeah, exactly. Some of the feedback from my constituents, Your Honor, when the other concept was being proposed and they put that sign up maybe a little prematurely, was, you know, people came to me, or when I went out and collected names for nomination papers, said, why are we want to build a new library when nobody even reads a physical book anymore? And this is bringing that need that still exists. I mean, the old library is a Carnegie Library, and it's an old, beautiful building, and it's great for what it was built as. But we're today's Carnegies, okay? And we're at a different point in life and in our society and civilization. We're changing. This addresses that need, and it's not a traditional dusty, musty book library. It will have economic impact from an economic development perspective, because we're, as a community right now, when the bypass is built, especially, are competing with those developer dollars, those builders that people that want to build a new home, the millennials that are going to be having children here and are having children. We're competing with them. We have a swimming pool that we, quite frankly, lose a lot of money on every year. But our Silver Sneakers folks would probably really have a hard time without that there. And we're in a river town. There are a lot of justifications for keeping the swimming pool. But this project here is almost like a no-brainer for us. And I realize you're not going to have all the answers to the questions right now. That'd be kind of like asking what names are the baseball teams going to have before you even build the ball diamond. People will come, they will use it, it will benefit our children and children down the road, their children. So I think that you've done a great job. And I think, I can't speak for the rest of the people, but I wouldn't have a problem selling this to the constituents in the first district, because it doesn't take a rocket science to figure out it's a relatively small investment for a big return. So I just hope that keep that momentum going.
Just think, advertising on your videos about New London, this would be one of your key things. It's just that we are meeting the needs of, the 21st century communities. And anyway, but yeah, there is always a lot of ifs. But for me, for me, all of this is like, I have this analogy. We're pushing this snowball up the hill. And one of the things that helps us push it down, and then as it goes down the hill, it's going to get the snowball's money. When you push it down the hill, the snowball's going to grow. People want to get on board, even those that may not want. But for us to actually push it over is commitment from you guys, financial commitment from you guys. Because when we can say that, then the other donors and people who said this city is even behind this, they're financially behind this. And they're going to say, we're on board. And those that don't even say, they're going to miss out. This is my point. They're going to miss out because their name isn't even going to be on that, on the recognition board or however we, rooms or however we, they're going to be absent. And that's going to be too bad for them. So you guys, we're almost at the top. But we need you guys to help us push that snowball over. And believe me, I asked Keller, I said, once something really gets going, that first shovel gets done, they said, you wouldn't believe it. It's not dots and T's, but he says, you won't believe it. It's like a flip goes on and people want to get involved because they know it's actually really going to happen. And in New London, when it actually is going to happen, don't you think people are going to go like, wow, it's really happening after 10 or 20 years of trying to get it done.
Yeah, again, it gets frustrating. Well, all these meetings, talking, asking a question, making another statement. Oh yeah, that's a great deal. It's time we quit talking and start taking some action. One way or another.
Ultimately,
That's it. No more arguing about it or discussion. We gotta do something.
I don't think anybody's arguing. It's just that, Mr. Pichet said it perfectly, that the original, putting the sign up and all that stuff, everybody I've talked to.
It was hard.
That nobody was on board.
That's over the dam.
So now, it might be over the dam, but the people still think that. Now, but it was stated perfectly, and that's what I think needs to now come out to the people to support it a little bit better. And that's that this isn't a new library. This is annex. This is a technology center. This was an amazing video. It was excellent, fantastic. And I giggled a little because that's exactly what everybody that came. Everybody, I see it every day. Walk into my shop, and they're like, "What's going on with the library thing down there?" And I'm like, "I have no idea."
Yeah, we wanted to get out and
talk. And that's, I think that needs to be put out a little bit more, just on the people side. I'm on board, in my opinion, just like you guys are. The numbers are a little high, in my opinion, from what I'm seeing. It's a lot of money for the city to be putting out. If you're looking at these other places putting out 14%, and we're putting out almost 50%. That's the way it looked to me.
Oh, no, the total cost is 3 million.
You got 1.5 million. You want us to do.
We already have 1.5 raised.
And you want us to put in 1.25.
No.
750. Yeah, the 3 million isn't even 30%.
No.
750 is what we were.
So you're going to raise the rest of that 750.
Yes.
Yes, that's what we're working on right now. You are like one of our people. We've done all the, are you still involved? But now we're moving forward with new contacts, with new generation. So that would be us, not that you do
That's
the
the only
rest.
thing that I see as an issue.
And if you don't raise it, we're on the hook for it.
That's exactly it.
Well, that is,
It's true.
well,
Don't raise
it
it. We
is,
are on
it
the hook.
will be the New London
I
building.
understand
So
that, but
there
like,
is this.
they're gonna be asking questions.
Exactly.
I love this. I'm not
Yeah.
arguing with
No,
you
I
guys, but I
agree.
love this idea. I really do. But I need more
Oh, okay.
solid numbers to what it's actually gonna cost the city moving forward.
Well, the operating is the only thing that will cost you moving forward. So we will work on that. And what is the next step? Who do we come back to? Personnel and finance, capital?
Well, I think you can come back to either this committee, or if there's a full dollar amount, that's when we start getting Judy involved to see. I mean, if we're talking about 250,000 a year and slipping that into the capital projects, you guys know how tight capital projects is. So I mean, we have to focus on how that's going to fit in before you guys even commit anything. And the other huge one is the operating. I mean, I love this project. I think it's great. However, I can't, as a city administrator, recommend that we're going to cut $100,000 or $200,000, whatever the operating cost is
Oh,
going to be,
it's not going
or whatever it is, but we don't know what that is yet. So we can't say that we can finance the operations of this until we know what that operation is. Because if I got to turn around and say, okay, guys, we got to cut a street operator, I got to cut the pool hours, or I got to cut something this because we're doing that. That's a decision you guys got to make, but we need to know what that is. So again,
So
great
we'll work
project,
on
but
the-
we need more information.
we'll
and we
work
gotta
on the
with Judy
operating with
before
Judy.
we slip
Mhm.
those things in there, so you guys have a better idea how this fits into the entire budget.
Sure.
One of the biggest things I hear from my constituents is, oh, the city just does what they want. Yeah, nobody feels like they have a voice. I think the best way to give the people of the city a voice is to put it to referendum. It is a very big, project, and let the people voice if they want it or not. This has been rammed down our throats for 10 years. And
Yeah, that just is not going to happen. That delays the project, number one. And number two, listen, we already have raised half the money, and we're going to raise more. I mean, we don't need to put it as a referendum to the city. It is something we as a committee and as a board are working our butts off to do it, just to give it to the committee, give it to the community, without
agree
you
with
guys having to take the whole batch and say, here's a $3 million project, we want you to fund it. We're not even doing that. We're working as hard as we can.
I agree with you, but I have to respect Mr. Roberts.
And I do, yeah, I agree.
Words there, because each one of us work for the constituents in New London.
And I know that there always are going to be people who are concerned about how this is going to affect their taxes. It's there. I was on the school board for 21 years. I know about how people are concerned about their taxes and had to worry about that there.
Like I said, I love the idea. I just need to know the numbers. Need to know how much it's gonna cost 10 years down the road. That's a whole nother
How,
building.
do you know how much it's going to cost in your
And I
whatever,
can't just
10
say,
years
yeah,
down the road?
here's $750,000. If it's not enough, well, I guess I'll pull some more out, or
Well, it
I'm
would-
not saying we need the exact cost, but we do need to know some sort of
But
what you're
again,
asking.
there's too many variables to fight back and forth about this as we sit right now. Let's get these answers
We'll
on this
try.
meet and talk
Do our
again.
best.
Mr. Barrington,
They're not gonna beat the horse to death
We
tonight.
understand.
We have got to take this to finance. We have got how many $1 million street projects coming up? We can't sit here and just talk this. We've got to go to finance. We've got to start finding out what we can possibly get.
Thank you.
Maybe we like this project. We're gonna have to answer to the people. When we start having so many potholes in this town that we spent money here, we have got to sit down with finance and see if we can even finance this project. And I think right now, that's what we have to do. To sit here and talk for another 4 hours or something.
We're
No.
gonna solve any problems.
And,
We've
this
got
is
to
our
go to
request,
finance and
but
see
you
if
guys
we
have
can
to
even do
decide
it.
what it is that you actually can come back with.
Would you be willing to come to the personnel and finance
Absolutely.
meeting for
Yeah,
questions?
absolutely. We'll come to every meeting that you want us to,
Thank you.
whether you like it or not. Sorry.
And Chad, are you in agreement on personnel and finance, or?
You mean in June, I'm assuming.
Situation?
First of all, I think tonight's meeting was just a good, nice overview of what their concept and vision is, and I think they did a
Right.
phenomenal job giving that. they took feedback. We need to crunch the numbers. And then once you have better numbers, then I think taking that to a upcoming finance personnel meeting, whenever you're ready, to start talking about that information, like Mike said. I mean, then it's a hard decision needs to be made to see how that fits in, but you're not gonna figure that out tonight. Tonight was just a vision. They did a great
That's right.
job of giving you guys that.
Correct.
And that you guys
Go on.
know
Really,
what that sign is about, we
Yep.
just went, and that's the point. Right now, we're getting the word out.
And Ann's gonna work with Judy to kind of talk about
Right.
the better operation costs. And then I think staff can bring that information up to, upcoming finance meeting whenever that's ready.
When staff and Ann are ready to present it, then we'll put it on the finance board.
Yep.
Or committee meeting.
Finance.
That'll work. Everybody else agree with that?
Well, thank you very much. Like I said, we just really wanted to come back and, as Ron said, we were coming back. We did come back, and we had to take this much time because it took that long to develop all of this stuff and to go back and talk to, I mean, if we lost half our donors, then this was a no-go.
Yeah.
So we had to take the time to do all that before we came to you.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks for having us.
And
Thanks
having
for
us.
coming.
Appreciate it.
Great presentation. Bob, you
Sorry
want to bring
about
us
my
to number
passion.
4?
I want to move on and retire.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor? Opposed? We're adjourned.
You opened her, but I didn't.